Welcome back. This is the part two to our men's mental health conversation. So we still have the same fellas with us. I want to dive into a subject and I'll pass this on to Tariq, right? I think one of the problems we have in the Virgin Islands or just in general in Black society is I think there's this stigma about therapy, and what it actually looks like. Because I think for some it's scary. They don't know. I feel like somebody's going to tell my business, et cetera, et cetera. So from a therapist standpoint, how would you describe therapy to be like? What would a session look like? How would it feel? What a person could expect to go into therapy for the first couple of sessions?
Yeah. But I could speak for me. One of the things I always begin with is talking about the role that confidentiality is going to play in this session. The thing we talk about in here is confidential. I won't go and tell anybody your business. The only places where confidentiality is broken is if there's mention of, intent. And that part is important, intent to harm yourself or somebody else. Because just having the ideation, it doesn't trigger something to say, well, yeah, I need to go and call law enforcement. And even then we'd have a conversation because that's a huge, like, I want to walk with you through that. But therapy in general, is at least for me, it's a conversation. It's two people who initially don't know each other, trying to create a relationship so we can then actually do work. There are so many different modalities that you could be an expert in, and none of it matters if you can't build a relationship with the client. So whenever that's how it starts off for me, at least. Where there's nuance is like I have white clients who get a different version of me than a client who is from here, and a client who's from here also gets a different version of me than the client who is from the States. And it's not that I'm not being authentic. It's just this is the best way to relate to this client, and it's just a different part of me that I'm now showing. I think interestingly, the clients that I relate easiest with, the be like I said before, like the street adjacent or the person who like they're here because they were mandated by court, or I've done some work in BOC and I go in there and like most of them, like I grew up with them people, like that's my partner and we just talk, but it'll be a conversation. I think it'll be different for other therapists, but largely it's a conversation that we have in about what goals we need to work on and how we can work on them together.
Okay. I want to pose this to a couple of people that have been to therapy, right? What would you say, yes, I have been your experience with therapy, and how has that helped you? And what did you thought going in and what actually took place?
I think, like I said before, you could think you're okay, but you've developed a certain type of scar tissue or coping mechanisms that you think is cool, but could be hindering a certain type of growth to reach a potential that you're trying to get. You know what I mean? You could be self-sabotaging yourself, thinking like, all right, I'm keeping a distance, I'm moving a certain type of way, but it's a trauma that you've experienced in the past that you haven't really dealt with in the right way that can bring you back. I think just like Tariq said, is really a conversation. And I want to add too, it's okay, like if the therapist is not speaking your language, it's okay to try another therapist that is.
Yes.
Because I tried it one time and you really feel like it was doing anything for me, well, you might not have found somebody that talked your language and could get you through it. So, that's very interesting that you're saying, your white clients are different than your Black clients versus stateside versus island. You know what I mean? Like, you got to find somebody that talks your language in that conversation.
That's a good point, right? So I'll get a little personal here. When I went into therapy, I actually requested a Black woman because for me, I related best to a Black woman, right? An older Black woman. And it just made me release easily because I'll admit some of my relationships with men, started for like my father and stuff, has not been the greatest, right? So for me to then open up to somebody that I haven't opened up to that degree before would have been difficult for me. So I chose that. So that's to further that. So I'm gonna pass off to Mikey, right? What was your experience of therapy? What did you thought going in, and what actually took place?
Mm. I'm still a work in progress.
We all are. We all are.
in progress. Again, for me, I was never the type of person, like, I keep my emotions in check. I'm not the most emotionally available person, but I knew something. I'll give you, I won't go too much in specifics, but I knew something was wrong. I don't cry, but I cried in my car, and that's what I realized. Something kind of like, something wasn't broken, but something was nicking at me to where my emotions were just all out of whack. Like it was just like not my normal, calm, collected self on a regular basis. Very even keel, you know? Going into therapy was weird. I ain't gonna lie to you. Though. Like doing the paperwork, I was a little nervous because you don't know who you'll be seeing. You know, I don't like. It's one of the things you hope nobody know what.
Smile too.
And the island, exactly, the island smiles. So I might fit out the paperwork and the clipboard, taking back. You know, and it's not even like a sense of shame. It's just like, oh God, man, me want nobody that know me. I'm like, Mike, like, you know, and then next thing you know, Mike, I see you there, and then you come a whole, you know. But you know, after I did the paperwork, the ladies were very kind, and you know, I had my first session last year, and it was good because it was like it's just like you say, like it's different for everybody, and exactly how you said, like you know, you can always, it's like a relationship with your therapist. If you didn't know, it's like finding the right person, and I did find the right person for me, where it's always like a conversation. It's like you talking to your boy, but at the same time you able to understand why I had this emotion, why I felt this way, and they're able to relate because they understand as an islander, like as a male, like shit's tough. Like it's tough. Like, and I would say it was beneficial for me going into it and continually to go. And I mean, like, it always opens up new doors of possibilities for me because I'm able to think back to things that may have been bothering me. Growing up, certain things, you felt certain ways about things, your self-esteem, your confidence, you as a person and as a whole in the Virgin Islands, like you're a male, your own pressures for success, to try and be as successful as you want to be wealthy, you want to find your own path and your own destiny, and you question a lot of things in your life. So I think for me, those were things I went into. My biggest thing still was not making sure nobody don't walk through that door. To this day, even when I went in the waiting room at a Coop a couple of times, I make sure, I ain't see nobody that look like somebody I know, to then be like, let me just say, dip my face on magazine or something. But, I've gotten more comfortable with therapy to the point where I would say in my first session, I was nervous because, it's like, is it going to think I'm crazy? Is it just me? Am I overreacting, overthinking? Even when I was waiting, I was saying, I'm fine. Like,
Bruh.
but as soon as you enter like the first 15 minutes, you realize like, oh, there's actually a deep-seated problem that I'm actually avoiding, or I just don't want to accept. So that's kind of where it was.
Okay. So I want to pose a different question to Deshaun, right? We talk about therapy, but I also think I want to go back to support, right? Because you have to get to that place where you want to do therapy and stuff, right? Currently, right now, if you need to get support, if you're going through a tough time or you have a thought or whatever that looks like, what do you currently do to get support?
Right now, currently, I had to go to the gym. I talk to my brother, talk to my mother, talk to my father. Like, I have a support system. I really do have a support system that I could really talk to. But when it's like internal, when you feel like you get days like you don't know what happened to you, and it could be like you so overwhelmed from just life. Dealing with my son, cause children is a lot of work. You know what I mean? And just trying to better my life same ways, walk, everything to just take a toll on your body. I had to go in the gym and take it out. So that's my therapy in a way. But I have people like my brother, my mother, and stuff I could talk to. But I am thinking about maybe just going to therapy and seeing where it leads to. Cause when bro come home and tell me, yeah man, like my therapist, boom 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 boom, I'd be like you just have somebody to just talk to, like a stranger, like you could tell them, and they can't judge you, like they just have to listen. So
Well, sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes you just
You
want
just want somebody to listen
exactly.
to, you know what I mean? You
because you gotta. You say I think you said it best. I think people forget about that in abortion. I think that's where we have a misconception. It is backbreaking. Some days you have people that work 2, 4, 5 jobs on a daily basis. The wealth disparity, the rich getting richer, the poor get poorer.
you trying better your future,
Exactly.
like all of this.
And you have to fight. And I think that's how sometimes where I call into question, like, where is that care? You know, as even as for you have GVI employees, you have people that work. You have GVI employees, you have people that work private sector, you have people that are entrepreneurs. They have all of this burden, and sometimes they don't have the best outlets. Some people will want to work out and take it out on their body, but they don't have all the time in the world because they know that punch clock looking for 1, 2, 3 punches a day. So it's always that constant flux and ebb and flow, and that's where it comes back. I think we have to start finding ways to actually take care of the Virgin Islanders that are working now, the Virgin Islanders that. Because, I mean, I'm sure it is mentally debilitated if you're like a cashier at a government office and you getting berated 24/7, like 5 days a week. Like,
Oh man,
like you getting, and it's not even your fault. Like,
Right.
you literally there to just process, but because the line long, everybody cussing you, because, and it's not, and they take it, and that's why I don't wonder, like, that's not healthy. I'm sure it's not. You getting it 5 days a week.
Yeah, man.
hey, you're a sponge and you're absorbing all of
Yeah,
this.
you getting cussed out, and guess what? AC you're walking is apparently your fault. The AC you're walking, or the cash check machine or whatever
Anything
system
about
does.
is your
Anything
fault.
is your fault, and,
Right.
and all it is you coming in for 8 o'clock and up. And that's what it killed me. It's like I think people just forget that. Like people, we cause our own people some form of harm, and I'm sure it's not healthy. I also hate the fact that, like, when you walk yourself to the bone and all it is, like, I had to tell people that's a grim. I was like, it was even in therapy I talked about that, because you walk with somebody for so long, you're a part of doing this, and then in the end they just up and they pass away, and then the job goes out for bid. They sign a book. They tell you go get help if you need some help. You get 2 hours off from work to go to the funeral and repass, and that's it. And then after that, you've forgotten the part for and that's it. And I said that's a very grim reality for me, and I hated that because it put like a pit in my stomach. Where it's just like, there should be more to being like a GVI employee. There should be more to being a Virgin Island. I mean, we talked about it at a time. Like,
Yeah.
it's not paradise if the locals can't afford it. And I think that's what we forget. We forget that enterprise, a local versus transplant, is very important. And our own people go through so much. And it is heartbreaking sometimes when you see people, like Senator of the LA was like, you got women out here working 2, 3, 4 jobs, breaking it, cooling. Well, the men is cooling on the black and they breaking it back. And I hate to see that. And that's why I say mental health is such a ingrained thing, and I hate when we downplay it. I don't like when we say everything is peachy keen. It's not really peachy keen. I know there are a lot of issues in the VA where kids with stress, it's a whole melting pot of issues, and we constantly forget that. All it takes is one really bad day and everything goes out.
Yep.
And we've all had a bad day, I'm sure, and many other people have bad days after us and before us, and I'm sure people don't understand that. But all it takes is really one really bad day and something to go around and change your life completely.
So we're going to go back to something we talked about off here, right? We could talk about violence, we could talk about crime, we could talk about all these things, but if we don't address the root cause, we gonna always have, like, I'm not want to call it out, but we're gonna have the Office of Gun Prevention, and we have these offices in this department, but it only attacks the symptom, not the root cause. So I think I want to pass off to you, because you said something very interesting about capitalism and some other stuff. I want to pass on to you. Where do you see the root cause of our main issues?
Yeah, I think we don't have enough time to get into like what like the crux of it all. But lately the thing that I've been, I want to say, battling, debating, trying to figure out is how to navigate living in this like capitalist society while also remaining ethical, because like ingrained in this system is inequality, right? Like it's like somebody has to lose in order for this to work. But when you look at it in the Virgin Islands, we're so small that the people who are losing, like that's us. Yep. Right. Even to the cashier that you was mentioning, like not only are they experiencing all of the stress, their salary is barely above the poverty line. Right. So you mix that with an unexpected bill, you fall in a pothole, or the price for rice and chicken went up $3,
Mhm.
and that's just outside the budget for you. Like those are the things that lead to so many of the issues. The thing that the VLA said the other day about the men who like just on the block not working. Like I think there's a lot more nuance to that
I agree.
because like when you speak with a lot of typically younger men, like they say, why would I go in to this job where I gonna make 10.50 or 13.50 an hour, and my supervisor gonna talk to me how they want to talk to me, and then suppose I bust head
Mm.
and now I gone jail.
Mhm.
You know, and so that it set me back this whole. It's a lot of times like not doing, and this isn't to remove the accountability,
Yeah.
right? But as an explanation, a lot of times like not doing the job is part of the survival mode. Because I might go in there lose my cool because this person always talk in this negative way, and I don't have the skills to deal with it appropriately. And maybe that's not the conscious thing that is saying, but like why would I want to do that? And then I watch my mother, I watch my aunt work 35 years. At the end of it, they wait 3-4 years to get a check from GRS. The prices kept going up. They have high blood pressure, they have diabetes, they still got paid for all these medications. I'm not doing that. 30 years of my life to then have to only get to enjoy kind of 15 years. You know what I mean? So like there's so much nuance that are going to what the core of the issue is. Because we also don't have the systems of care that we need. Like for me, I'll mention riding my bike. So I've been doing this now for a little over a year, and the peace that I've been able to find outside of it, like I mean, like I have a horrible day, I'm gonna do some sprints, or let me go up the beast because I just need to just focus on something else. Let me focus on the pain in my legs, there's a pain everywhere else, right? Everybody ain't gonna ride a bike. And sometimes even buying a bike is a little bit outside of reach.
600, 7,000.
Yeah, them bikes that are out there, like maybe they don't look it, but like them bikes is like 6,000, 10,000. Like that's the price of a bike out there. Not all bikes, but the really, really good ones. You know what I mean? But like we don't have these systems where like you can say, okay, me and this group, we going and go exercise. We're gonna just go to this a free gym somewhere or a free park where it have. I mean, outside of Lagoon where it have the exercise thing, but like that's what systems of care look like. We need to have those in communities so people could just go and just do something.
But even to your mention, I think that's where we forget. Because look, in the States, you could take 2 hours out of your day, go and exercise, wash up, and come back and walk. They won't let we do that here. And some people, the working out works differently for people. Some people want to get up, call in a man and go and work out, but we still got punching for 8. You know, you have to think about if you live in the west side of you and go to Beeston Hill, that's a trek for you to then get back to then go back to work. If you walk east, you have a little bit more flexibility, but you still got to make it to work. So those the same thing. We forget like there are ways or systems of care that you can give to your employees and to your Virgin Islanders to make sure that if you want to put down your high blood pressure, diabetes, all of that. Some people really like working out. They just can't afford to work out because life itself has a different calling for you. Like you give up. I think when people don't realize too, I can say this for myself. When you enter the workforce after you leave college or after high school, you give up a lot of things that you take for granted. And I tell people like, do not take for granted time. Because you're gonna get the best shape when you was there, but now you have to make time to do that and then manage the responsibilities that are put before you. And as I say, sometimes I think we should be, I have somebody that used to say like, take certain initiatives from the States and you take them and you Virgin Islands them up to fit our needs. And that's what I'm saying. If we need to have those type of systems in place where, hey, you are gonna take my 2 hours this afternoon, I'm gonna go work out, come back. It don't matter because somebody will tell you, it ain't matter about the money. If I got those 2 hours where I could stop worrying about somebody cussing me off on the phone, or if I have to send an email, or I have to sit in another meeting for another 2 hours, or somebody got cussing me out of the cash register because it's hot or the line is on, I can't deal with not see check. Then you'd be able to debilitate those needs. Those 2 hours could be a meaning for you between life and death.
Yeah. What I would say, I think GVI, I don't know what it looks like in other states. I know GVI has like a wellness Wednesday where I think they meet at UVI and they walk.
Yep.
Unlike most other jurisdictions, insurance for government employees covers 100% of therapy. Like there is no copay. Like you just pick a therapist and go once they're in network. So I think we've like scratched the surface of like what integrated wellness could look like, but it has to be on a larger scale. Like we have to have communities that like you could go outside at 5 and do a soca aerobics class and just and then go to walk. You know, we just need more of it. That's all.
So I want to pass on to the DJ side, and from my aspect, there's a saying, idle mind makes, when you're idle, you tend to do stuff, right?
Yeah.
From your aspect, I know you're heavy into arts, right? What has art meant for you, and how has it kept you from potentially has actually supported your mental health and kept you from doing, I'll say in a recent term, crashing out?
It's an outlet, it's a catharsis, it's a place where I could put the emotions of whatever I'm going through and create it, you know what I mean, and get that out, whatever the emotion, whatever the thing is. I can make a song that's heavy, I can make a song that's light, you know what I mean, doing even with DJing and stuff like that, put on a certain mix and play the feelings out. But I have learned with therapy that could be a coping thing, and you're not necessarily getting past the thing, you're just easing the pain with it. So it's like, all right, well, what are you going through? It's great to have that outlet. It could stop me from, like you said, crashing out, taking it out on physically on myself or anybody that is around me. But at the same time, what is the trigger and how do I work with that as well? So, yeah.
So I want to ask, I want to pass on to this, Sean, right? I think what we're saying in essentially, I think in the VI way is survival mode, right? From your aspect, I want to ask how, I think you talk about dealing with stress, right, for yourself. How do you think, from your viewpoint, that we all, in probably different ways, how can we take time to de-stress? And then it may not be, for you, it might be working out, but for somebody, it's going to be something else. I just want to get your viewpoint on that.
Okay, so I feel like if you have things in your life where you need to take care of, but it's not a necessity, like say you get into gardening, you don't have to garden, but you can learn to garden to kind of clear, you know what I mean? Like you find stuff that you don't need to do, but you want to do to kind of pass the time or kind of relieve stress. I like to go to the gym. I also find out the other day that I like to garden. Like I never knew it was like so relaxing and just, so that's something I like to do now, and I gonna take the step to forward in that direction. So I'll say like how I have to feed my son and take care of my son. I need other stuff in my life like that to kind of keep me on a track. Not stressful, like I need to do it, but something I want to do. If you kind of understand what he's saying.
Yeah. One of the things too, I think whenever we've talked about therapy, like just as a community, and generally any problem solving structure, we think of it in terms of how do I get to the core of it and solve it. A lot of times the things that we go through in this community, there is no solution for it. Like we just have to build the tolerance to deal with it.
Or also self-care.
Yeah. So we have to find ways to like relieve the stress. Cause I some things just don't have a solution. There's some things I have to deal with, and some things may have a solution, but you have to be able to like tolerate the stress that comes with it for the year or two that it might take for you to figure it out. Like if it's upskilling and you want to learn program design or whatever, it might take a year, but you need to be able to have things around you to deal with the stress, because you're not going to be able to solve it.
Exactly. I want to pose the same question to you. Do you think we should methods that we could use to de-stress ourselves?
Find something that whatever it is that that you love, that if you could do this and not get paid, you're still happy getting it done. You know what I mean? With the gardening, like you said, it's a new thing. Well, that's a certain thing. You're taking care of something. It's a responsibility and a discipline. And when you see a little leaf off, it's like, wait, hold on. How do I fix this?
Yep.
And then you can take those tools and put it to yourself. It's like, you know what, something's a little bit off in my life. Let me pay a little more attention to this one specific thing. You know what I mean? Gardening, I think, is a great example where you see the roots of the problem, because if the roots are messed up, you're going to have messed up fruit.
Yeah.
The whole tree is going to be messed up. So find that something that is like, man, they don't even have to pay. I would love to do this and figure it out, whether it's getting in the ocean, whatever it is.
Something just like challenging the mind, like that you figured you would like to do.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's for people being in the streets too. Find something else, you know what I mean, other than that. Like, get a pet, take care of a pet. Something else to just occupy your time. You know what I mean?
Definitely. So that would be my suggestion.
And last year I get passed out to Mikey before we finish up.
I have a lot of them. I'll tell you, finding things that you love and do and want to enjoy are ways to help the mental stress. One of the big things for me growing up was a barbershop was my de-stressor. Like, I can't explain why, but like, and I had tough days at school on the weekend.
The barbershop is like Switzerland, man.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I would just sit in a chair, especially if I had like a really hard week or something at school or troubling me. And you get a haircut. Sometimes it's a doze off. That's like, it was like a dopamine effect where you would just calm and you get a haircut. And I would leave the barbershop with like a weight off on my back. So that was one of the.
You know what I think it is? I think is one of the true men communal spaces when you really think about it.
Yeah.
And like your barbershop is like your mini. I don't want to like a counselor like this. I was a therapist, but counselor.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. In a way, yeah. That's one of them for me. Another one for me is this. This for me, it's stress. While it develops stress when I'm writing episodes, you're writing the scripts and stuff, and you annoyed because the writing doesn't sound. So writing in itself is a way of de-stressing myself. Putting my ideas to paper. You could tell Richard, I'm a paper. So when it comes to that, like, I am a dead writer. I make paper off like crazy because it helps. While it stresses me out, it's more not even like a bad stress, it's like a challenge stress, like to bring that like my best writing forward. So that has been a way to help me express myself and also like just release some of the energy I have into my writing. Some of it too for me is going to the movies I'm a big movie buff, so when I go to the movies, I am now it's one of my big woo-saw moments for me. Therapy has become something I look forward to every week too. Getting to just talk to that person and solve, or not even solve something, just think on it. And lastly, for me, for myself, is straight up killing out a video game, like just zone out on my PS5, knock out something I could enjoy. So that's for me, that's like more self-care as well as doing things outside of my norm. So help me.
So one more thing.
Sure.
I'll wrap up. One of the things that's been really helpful is practicing mindfulness. And not just in the sense of like meditating and just sitting down with a thought, but like even in this conversation, there's been times where I could feel myself tensing up and my shoulders would start to like get up here and go, okay, you need to just relax and bring that back. And I could feel the stress, like the relief of just bringing that down. So, but if you can identify what your body feels like when it's stressed out, it's hard to de-stress on like that somatic level.
Yes, that's
so like that's a huge piece. Just spending time with your body, just breathing and like, oh, well, this is what I feel like when I stressed out. Let me relax my shoulders. That makes a huge difference.
So I want to thank everybody. We have so much to cover, right? I think we can't capsulize everything in just this couple of episodes. So I think we definitely gonna dive in more to it. So I want to thank everybody for coming through. This was a really good conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Dialogue 340. We will see you again next time.